Hey everyone, welcome back to another AP Precalculus video.
Today we're going to be doing 1.2 rates of change. So these are the learning objectives. You can pause to read it if you want, but it's basically talking about what rate of change is and how to find it over an interval. Here's an overlook of what average rate of change means. So it's just the change of output values over a given interval. And here's the formula to find average rate of change. We have A comma B with the output values of these input values over the input values, the differences.
So here's our first question, and we're finding the rate of change between the interval -1 and 2. So to find that, we need to find the corresponding output value for -1 and 2. So we look on this graph and we find where g of 2 is. So when the input value is 2, the output value is 10. So we'll do 10 minus g of -1, which is 1. So we'll do 10 minus 1 over 2 minus -1, since those were our input values. And then we'll end up with 9 over 3, which is so 3 will be our rate of change. Since g of x is linear, you can just do the rise over run to find the slope. So you could just look at the graph and figure out what the rate of change is.
So here's our first example question. You can pause to try it. In this PowerPoint, we're going to be looking at a couple different ways to find rate of change depending on what the question gives you. So right here, we're given a table with input values and corresponding output values, and we are to find the average rate of change on interval 3, 6. So here is the work showing how we get this result. So first of all, you can find the corresponding output values to the given input values of our interval. So when x is 3, f of x is 5, so f of 3 is 5. And when x is 6, f of x is 1. So that's the information we get from this graph. And then we just put it into our rate of change formula. So we have f of 6 minus f of 3. Those are our output values. And 6 minus 3. And that corresponds with our formula. And then we just replace these f of 6, f of 3 with the actual values, 1 minus 5, given from the graph. And then we get -4 over 3, and that's the rate of change over this interval.
For our next example, we have a piecewise function, f of x, and we have 4 questions corresponding to our graph. So the first question is, find the average rate of change from 3 to -1. So we're going to look on our graph where 3 is, and we find that the output value is 2. And then we're going to look on our graph where -1 is, and our output value is 2 again. But if you thought it was 1, that wouldn't be right since there's a hole at 1. So the output value is just 2, not 1. And then you do all that, you subtract those and do it over the difference in the input values, and you'll get 0. So the next question is finding the average rate of change from 1 to -1. And just like the other question, we find where the output value is for the corresponding input values. So at 1, the output value is 1, and at -1, the output value is 2. So then you find the difference in output values over the difference in input values, and you'll get -1/2. For the next question, it's asking us to find the average rate of change from 0 to 2. And just like the previous questions, you find the outputs corresponding to the input values, subtract it over the input values, and you will get 1. And the last question is just like the others, and here's the answer.
This is our last example, and just like the last question, it is also a piecewise function, but we're not given the graph. Instead, we're given the equation. So Find the average rate of change over the interval -4 to 5. So essentially, the way you do this is you plug in each input value of the interval into the corresponding equation. So -4 is less than 3, so you would plug it into this top one, and 5 is greater than 3, so you would plug it into this one. So that's how you find W of -4 and W of 5. You just plug it into the corresponding equations, and that's how you get your output values for these input values. Then you put those output values into your rate of change equation to get 34/9, which would be the average rate of change over this interval.
Thank you guys for watching 1.2 Rates of Change.
Make sure to subscribe for more math lessons and practice on our YouTube channel.
Bye!
Bye!